Okay, the greatest lie bikers, yes, bikers of all people, say about motorcycle clubs. I'm going to address that in this segment right here. Usually with the biker news and stuff, I'll address that. But there's been so many people out there, so many people putting out misinformation. It's time to clear it up. I never thought that bikers of all people would go out there and tell a bunch of lies about MCs. Let's be honest. Most of them people that went and got motorcycles at one time or another, they wanted to be in an MC. Even worse is you got creators that do some of this stuff. And one of the biggest lies, the biggest lie that creators are trying to push on the general public is if the violence don't stop, the government's going to put an end to the motorcycle clubs. I say you're delusional. That has been said since the beginning of the 1960s. Here's the problem with a lot of these creators. They don't know their history. They pop on here and just want to go off and not verify anything they're saying. The cops have been busting bikers forever. And every time they think they've taken them down, clubs come back stronger as hell. And one of the things that people like saying is, well, we're going to become like Australia. You're showing your ignorance again. If the government had any chance of taking down a motorcycle club, it would have been during the Mongols patch case, which, yes, is in the, the appeals process right now. But even the Ninth Circuit said that ain't happening. We got something called the Bill of Rights here. We got something that is called the First Amendment, which the jury might have found the Mongols responsible. But the judge said, no, you're not taking that patch because you're opening up a whole can of worms. They do something like that to bikers or clubs in this incident. They're going to do it to other organizations like the Elks or something like that if they have people getting busted. So to go ahead and parrot something like that is actually pretty unbelievable to me. Since the 60s, again, that's been said. And every decade upon decade upon decade, same old stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of technology out there that can get you hemmed up in a heartbeat. A lot of people say brotherhood don't exist anymore. I call BS. You know what the problem with a lot of people is? They want to be something, but they don't want to take the steps to actually do it. And I find that a lot, and I call them super supporters. See, me and Dibs were having this conversation on the second half of the show yesterday. Super supporters, they want to dress up in a club's colors. I'm talking head to toe, man. But they don't actually want to take the step. Then it's these same people. If an incident does go down, say I reported in Biker News, you can look at the comments of how these people act in the comments. Well, screw this club, screw that club, F them, down with them. It's amazing how much I can keep going on when it comes to that stuff. And it's like, dude, you're a supporter. You're a super supporter. You didn't want to take the next step. So why are you out there talking on behalf of that club? You shouldn't be. It's not your job to. You're not even one of them. And let's remember, supporters, clubs They're not going to back your ass because you're not a member. But when you have creators going out there and saying, well, the tradition used to be, we weren't this or we weren't Patch Police. Shut up, stupid. That's what I got to say to you. You don't know your history. The Patch Police stuff is something that's wide on the internet, but people don't understand why that happens. The cops have been after clubs forever. And one thing that a lot of these clubs that wear diamonds that have the history behind them know is the first thing that's going to happen with John Q. Citizen. If somebody pulls up in a patch and gets into something stupid with the civilian, the cops are going to run straight to them and put headaches on them. But nobody's going to tell you about that. No, they're going to say, well, we got a constitutional right. No, you don't. You might have a constitutional right as a regular civilian, but you're not in the scene. And the scene has its own traditions. They don't want to tell you that. They don't want to tell you, hey, you're the one who chose to get into this scene. There are rules, just like anybody else, man. Any other subculture has its tradition and its rules. You do see a lot of people that just pop stuff up, and they're going to use the excuse, well, that's what happened with them. They didn't prospect. You dummies. Going back to history, do you know why they're called outlaw clubs? Because they used to be race teams and they used to hold events outside the AMA. And you can guarantee they had to do something to get into those race teams. Some kind of prospecting period, whatever. That's the way everything works. So when you try to use that excuse, that's moronic. Or if you try to use some of the popular guys out there, well, he didn't do that. Come on. Really? Come on. With the stupid stuff and pushing that all over people. If you're to talk about it, be real. Don't be some lame ass that wants to follow everybody else because it's cool. Outlaw clubs. Man, is that thrown around all over the place. You know what it is? It's basically somebody who doesn't want to live by somebody else's rules. They want to live a free life on their own terms. But society calls them outlaws for doing that because they don't conform. You see a lot of these people out there bashing clubs and bikers. Well, why don't they grow up? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Why don't you shut up and go ask them? Don't be that keyboard commando crap, man. If you feel so strongly, go ask them. Go state your position. You're such a badass. Go state that position to them. The whole image of Harley Davidson was built on these guys. And you have rubbers or whatever you want to call them, enthusiasts that want to dress outlaw, but you don't want to put the work in. You want to be the one that goes off into the corner and scare a civilian. And that's all you can do. But God forbid you get into something real. God forbid that. But you'll go out and be a super supporter on it, won't you? But that is the biggest lie around. That the MC's going to die if we don't change and come together. That shows us that you absolutely know nothing. Like me and Dibber was saying, we can tell who's in a club and not just by the way you talk, the terms that you use. No, the club scene ain't going nowhere. If anything, it's gonna grow even more. You know what? They always had a saying that any advertising, whether good or bad, is good. That's just the same thing that happens every time you see something bad happening in the scene. You gain more people. It's a fact. Any publicity is good. And you see the ranks of a lot of these clubs skyrocket, especially after the FBI or the federal government gets involved in taking some people down. And you know what? Not even 1% of the crime that's committed is done by clubs. You have more cops out there that do more crap than you would 1%ers. How many are locked up? If you have to ask yourself, how many diamonds are locked up? Not many. Now compare that to the cops. How many of them are locked up? Many. So I think it's time to get it straight and stop telling this lie that if people don't come together, everything's going to disappear. Because that's just ignorant. And creators, if you're putting out that crap, you're ignorant. Because you're going to say, well, they're profiling us. You know what? It is actually not as bad today as it used to be, where they would take your ass off a bike and bury your face in the mud. Or do you even know where clubhouses came from? Why clubs get them? It's because they were getting profiled so much during the 60s and 70s, just going to a bar. It was better just to get your own place and not to have to deal with it. So learn your history before you go out talking this smack about how clubs are going to die if they don't come together. Give me a break with that crap, man. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. It's going to be a good discussion right there. And of course, I'm not talking about one creator or another, so you to take that shit out of here. Yeah, there's some that's notable that talk that crap, but it's a fantasy. If the government was going to knock clubs off, it would have been during that patch case. But people don't use their brain, obviously. Anyway, we're going to be right back with the second half of the show. China Doll is going to be joining us. The Morning Madhouse over on YouTube or www.motorcyclemadhouse.com. You to listen to it live, baby.
Is an in-depth look at the trials and tribulations of street gang and motorcycle club life. This isn't the run-of-the-mill book that doesn't give the goods. This book will go into detail of events that actually happened. All materials in this book have been approved by those involved. There is nothing poetic, nor is there any price worth paying for the life we choose to live on the streets. James Hollywood Machikari, Brotherhood and Betrayal.
Join the Insane Throttle Members Only Club on YouTube or Spotify and receive exclusive content. Your membership in the Throttle Club helps keep the show going strong.